Welcome to Open Studio, Wednesday. Let me just get my apron on here. Welcome everybody. You notice we're broadcasting now in the within our tribe, within our group. I'm going to add my microphone. Yeah, so now we're broadcasting. Hi guys. We're broadcasting from the tribe, so don't forget to hop on over here and make all your comments in here and your questions so that I can be sure to see everything, because things get lost in the feed and I don't see them. I'm going to get working on this right away today as I'm talking, only because I started probably half hour ago when I came in and I looked at this painting, and this orange, I don't know, it wasn't working for me. It's not that there was anything wrong with the orange, it just, I don't know, it just didn't feel, it didn't have the right mood for me today. So yesterday it felt like, you know, like I had invented something insanely cool or discovered something insanely cool, and today I'm like, yeah, I'm over it. So I want to make this painting a little more, yeah, a little more moody, I guess. Right, I took out the orange. So just, I think I'm going to put orange back in, but I don't think a band across the bottom was doing it for me. So that's okay. So remember what I was talking to you about yesterday, and that's the important thing to take from this, is that it's okay to let something go in your paintings to try for something better. And what is something better? It's just whatever feels right to you. So when I came in, this painting didn't feel right. It's like, no, I'm getting into too many fussy details. I need to make some bigger changes. So in observing it, I had to look at what I like and what I don't like. And I'm getting too nitpicky and too small for such a big thing. So I need some big statements. So that's the first thing I want to tackle. Is good for you, Linda. Feathers out. You just got to make decisions sometimes to just say, you know what, it was working, but now it's not, and off you go. So, like, anyway, my son was here yesterday, and he's going to university for fine arts, and so it's not that I don't value anybody else's opinion, but when he came in, and the first thing he said was, "Oh, your polka dots are way too small." It took me a second. At first I was insulted, like, what do you know, Mr. First Year School? But then I was like, you know what, he's right. So because this paper that I put down pretty early in the painting, there's only one. Well, there's only one, meaning that I only bought one. I was in New York City when I bought that paper, and I remember spending like a stupid amount of money on one sheet of paper, and then I collaged it in. And maybe some of it is, you know, will poke through, but I'm okay with it. I'm over it now, and the reality is I looked at it and I went, that is what's holding this painting back, is the dots just feel too wimpy. So, and because that's to me, right? So you guys may be watching this and going, I don't see it at all. But to me, the dots just felt wimpy. So I'm going to do something, and I have a few pieces of collage cut out. I have a few ideas. I don't really know what I'm doing yet, but let's just figure this out, okay? So, but what I really want to show you is not to be afraid to let things go, to try something new. And if it doesn't work out, it just means you're one step closer to the final product rather than one step further away. So I know that if I were to call it done, if I were to say, okay, you know, I'm just going to add a few little things because most people seem to like it, it's fine, I'll never be happy with it. So I need to make the changes that are going to make me happy with it. So I'm looking for something circular in my studio that's much bigger. And so I'm going to take the lid off of this can of paint and see if that's going to do it for me. This can of paint is so old that I'm not sure it's actually going to open, but I'll give it a shot. So I've asked you guys to post your beginning pictures, but now I'm going to start to want to see what you're doing to make some changes. So your aha moment yesterday was what? Your aha moment, Linda, tell us about it. Was when you realized that you could let things go? Anyway, just make a comment so that I can keep this discussion going while I open this can of paint and do rather boring things to this painting until I work it out. So I told you guys, or I asked you, how rude of me, I told you. I asked you to post pictures of your worst nightmare paintings, right? So now I need to know what changes you're willing to make to them, to just even one thing, just do one thing today to that painting. Maybe it's put a new piece of collage on it. Maybe it's to pull out that composition sheet, which I keep reminding you guys to go back to that composition sheet. And I think that there's more to that composition sheet than any of us are really giving it credit for. That composition sheet, I don't refer to it because it's burnt into my brain. I'm always thinking about composition. And it's in this composition that I feel uneasy, right? I came in and I'm like, yeah, something big needs to happen because it's just not doing it for me. So I am going to grab a crayon or a pencil. I know, here's a Lyra graphite stick. This one's water soluble, so that's okay. All right, so Linda said I had to ask myself, what are you trying to say in this composition? Exactly. I'm so happy you did that, because sometimes we try to force something to work, right? Mine all have wax on them. Can I add to them? Sure. Okay, so Terry, let me give you a quick little rundown on that one, because Margot's asked too, and I know we were going to get into that. But if you want to glue a piece of collage to your wax, then just make sure that you do put glue under it and let it dry. So a lot of people will tell you have to use Yes Paste and all this stuff, but I'm just saying, for now, because of the situation we're in, we can't really be fussy in ordering Yes Paste and all that stuff. Yes Paste is just an adhesive, a glue, basically like thick wallpaper paste. So if you have wallpaper paste, use that. If not, just use the gel medium or whatever you have. Just make sure you wipe any excess off and then just work it in. So I chalk paint over top of my encaustics all the time. When I'm not feeling them anymore, or I add more encaustic. But generally, if I'm going to put collage in between the layers, that paper will always just forever be sort of suspended in there, sandwiched in between the wax layers. And eventually they do form little air bubbles and come out. So for that reason, I would just say whatever you've got as glue, just glue it in if you're going to do collage. If you're going to do chalk paint or clay-based paint, put that on top. But yeah, if you're, just take your old painting, the one that you are going to, if you haven't already done so, the one you're going to post in this feed, right, to show us this is the one that is not going to get the best of you, and you're going to let go of something that needs to let go, or you're going to add something that was always missing, or whatever. Just do one thing. And if you end up changing the painting so drastically that no one recognizes it anymore, then so be it, right? Like, why do we feel the need to hang on to these things all the time? So I'm just going to let that go for a second while I make my circles here. So this paint can still has very viable paint in it, so I'm going to try to avoid getting that all over my hands. I was a little late to the live feed today because I hadn't put my apron on yet, and I got white paint all over my black jeans just before we came on. That's the other thing we could open for discussion one day, is how many nice articles of clothing have you turned into paint clothing? So I'm just tracing this lid because I wanted something circular and bigger than what I had going on before. So the polka dots that I had going on before were fine. They were just too small. So these ones, I know you can't see much, but these ones are going to make me much happier. I can already feel it. Just because the composition to me, right? This is a large canvas. And I just felt like it was getting too tight and too small and too fussy, and no matter what little small things I was going to do to it, it was never going to be that thing that made it pleasing to me. It's a lot of words, right? I just said a whole lot of words there that maybe didn't make a lot of sense, but you are ultimately the only one who gets to decide if your art is good or not, right? It's not a gallery, it's not a spouse, it's not a friend, it's not your followers on social media. This is the domain that you own. This is yours and yours alone. You get to make all the decisions, right? This is your art, and people can give you all the suggestions in the world, but what it boils down to is, first of all, who are you making this art for? Second of all, does it make you happy? If it's making other people happy, then it's never going to make you happy. Does that make any sense? I'm just saying that I often, because I do a lot of shows and I do a lot of, I stopped doing commissions for that very reason. But I always felt like I had someone else to please, and there would be that little question like, oh, are they going to like that? Or, for most buyers, is that color going to be too garish in their homes or something like that? And then I hit this point where I just went, who am I creating this art for? Like, my legacy in my art is not how well I pleased other people. There you go. That's my little soapbox curtsy for the day. Okay, that's enough of that. But I really do believe that strongly. You guys are your own best critics and you're your own worst critics, because you're the only one that you need to make happy in this world with your art. Anyway, when you let go of that, you may lose some sales. I have to say, there is a flip side to all this, right? But you may also gain an entirely new following of people who really get you and get your art. If Pam is laughing, or is listening, she's going to be laughing her butt off at me right now. Here we go. So this one is actually super, I don't know why, but I see potential in this, and it's making me really happy. Really happy. There we go. So ideally this would be a great place for wax, but because this is on canvas, I don't have wax or the ability to wax. So I'm just going to have to make do. Could you remind me how to do a patina? Of course I'll remind you how to do a patina. So a patina is simply, and it doesn't matter which medium it's in. I'm just out of the frame for a sec, guys. I'm getting my T-square. A patina, doesn't matter which medium it is just when you deposit color into a groove, right? So in encaustic, what you do is you make your scratches, you make your marks, you make your indents, or you just write off the texture that's already there, and you rub oil paint into it with a little bit of like a vegetable oil in it, just to soften the oil paint if your oil paint's all dry, because you want to get it into the deepest part of that painting, into the crevice. And then you're going to take clean paper towel and with vegetable oil, and you're going to just wipe the paper towel with vegetable oil and rub it off. The first layer is going to kind of smear, so then you find a clean spot on the paper towel or a new paper towel, and then you clean that off. Then you take a clean paper towel or a clean area for a third time, at least the third time, put a little vegetable oil on it and remove any of the surface. And that way the vegetable oil doesn't wash out that oil paint that you've deposited in your crevice. And then you have to fuse it, right? So fuse it lightly afterwards, but that is how you do patina on encaustic. So what we've been doing in here in the wood is also patina, right? When we scratch into our paint and then we put a stain on it, we've been using chalk paint or acrylic or walnut ink, and we let the stain go into that crevice, and then we take a baby wipe and we remove the surface so that that little bit stays in the groove. Now, if you're talking about your crazy busy piece, Margot, that you were talking about, or that you had shown us that you were going to tackle in this this week's topic, then a patina is it's too fine. It's too much of a fine detail, fussy thing to make a subject matter out of it. So within your painting, right, people were giving you like suggestions on how to pull it together, but I think if I were to pick one thing, and we will do an encaustic, so if I do get to it this week, if I ever finish this honking thing, then we will do an encaustic one so that I can show you guys that. But ideally you'll want to be able to find and pull out that composition sheet. You're going to be able to want to identify your subject matter or your elements of interest that are moving you through the painting. So from when I looked at that painting, to me it looked like there was so much going on I couldn't identify. So you need to be able to pick out what is the thing I want people to look at most. Okay? Alright, so using my T-square, I'm able to create these very horizontal lines that if I don't create very horizontal lines, I'm going to end up with the painting making people a little seasick. Whoops. And that just happens because sometimes when we're painting we don't take the time to keep our horizons and things like that. And so especially on a big piece, right? On little pieces it doesn't matter so much. But on the big one, I do have to keep some of my lines perpendicular or to one another, or I have to keep them, you know, horizontal. I have to keep things looking a little straight unless it's purposely a diagonal. Otherwise, like even just that slightest bit off can really make you make things look a little strange. So I think we're going to go into that orange. I just really feel that that orange is... So part of me questions, here's the thing, part of me questions, are people going to find orange a little harsh, right? Well, of course they are. Orange is not a color that most people decorate with because it is a pop, it is harsh, it is what it is. But remember, that's not exactly what I'm going for in this painting, right? In any painting, really. I'm not as concerned about what the Gen Pop thinks about my art anymore. Sorry, I'm just mixing an orange here. I'm trying to get the right feel for this. So I'm using pretty much acrylics here, and I have a lovely vermilion that I'm mixing. I can turn so you guys can see what I'm doing, sort of. So while you guys are watching, I'm going to take this opportunity, and I'll thank you again at the end, but I just want to say thank you to everyone so much who has started to buy things from my shop or pay for the open studio, which I'll talk about later, on Friday, things like that. It's I'm not going to use any foul language, but it's getting pretty real out there, isn't it? And the reality is, I have studio rent every month, and I have Bell, and I have Hydro, and I have expenses that, as much as I'm enjoying and loving doing free sessions with everybody every day, because it is actually truly where my heart loves to be, I actually do have real bills out there. So for all of you who are helping support the studio, this does feel like a little bit of a telethon, but I did want to say thank you so much because I really, really, really appreciate it. It does make my life a little bit easier to keep doing what I'm doing, as I'm not able to teach at the current time. So I'm a person who doesn't believe necessarily in sorry, gotta adjust this now, in panicking. I don't ever usually, I think it's a useless energy emotion to panic. So rather than panicking, I am trying to, like many of you, just find my new norm, and adapting is something that I do fairly well. So moving a lot of my classes to online and everything else right now without having all the proper resources to do that, I'm just going to find my way around it and figure it out. So I thank you all for joining me. We'll talk about that again at the end a little bit, but it means a lot to me that everyone is sticking by and enjoying the classes. But I did want to say thank you to everyone who's been supporting my shop and all that. I'm trying desperately to get more products online every day, but I am just one person. So, and everyone will know that has placed orders. I shipped everything out this morning via Canada Post, so you should get your orders as soon as you get your orders, and anything for pickup will be available starting this afternoon. And if you don't live far from me, I'll probably just drop by your house on my way home. That's how much I appreciate you guys. Okay, so the orange might be a bit bright, but this orange is also a bit translucent. So once I get it painted out, you're going to see that this is a big change, but at the same time, it's, for me, it's the necessary change there we go. It's the necessary change to make a big impact. That little band of orange was it was fine, but it was too low, and it was kind of insignificant down there, so I took it out. And then I like the gray because it's grounding, and it really held up and did its job of pulling your eye down because of this, because of this part of the painting. So then I thought if I did something big, if it wasn't for Sebastian saying those polka dots are too small, at first I was like, oh, I could grab my little sponge dabber thing and make them all, you know, a little bit bigger. And then I thought, well, is that a big enough change that's going to make me happy? And the answer was clearly no. So now that I'm getting in these bigger dots, I've got a combination of all the colors, meaning the background. I haven't lost everything, all my paper entirely, so that makes me happy. Whether or not I'm happy with this color of orange, not sure, but that's okay because it's very translucent, so I'm only going to be able to do one layer anyway. And then I'll be able to assess. So remember on your phones I was telling you that you also have the ability to take pictures, and you can also use your markup tool. So if you use your markup tool on your phone in the editor, you could take a picture of your painting, and then take the markup tool and then just do something drastic. Choose a color, choose a black, choose something, and just put a mark put an X, put a something, put a big mark across it, and see if that adds to the painting. And if that adds to the painting, then go ahead and think, you know, how could I translate that into something within my own painting? It's similar to what I do when I rip big pieces of paper that are in possible contenders for collage in my painting, and I glue them, and then I don't glue them, I just hold them up, or I spray them with water and have them tacked there. Then, you like this orange? it's interesting. I'll have to see. You know what, I'm not minding it, because I really do like a pop of color. So, you know how industrial everything is popular these days? Well, this orange is very old and industrial, right? Like, I have this old light fixture that I bought out of a mechanic's garage when they were closing. And it's this exact, and it's metal, and it's the exact shade of orange, covered in about 50 years or more of grease. So it's fantastic. Like, it's just got an amazing color tone, and I love it. But anyway, this orange was very popular way back when. So in contrast to the gray and the steely look of the image, right? In contrast to all of that, this orange is actually, it holds up. It makes sense. It's also like that forest green color that they used to paint steam engines and things like that, right? That forest green, like normally if we think about forest green, we're like, yuck, how late 80s or early 90s is that? But if you think about it, in the Industrial Revolution, like a lot of the engines, steam engines and things, were painted that dark green. In fact, I know something about trains. My dad would be happy to hear if he was actually paying attention to this. The Santa Fe, if you look it up, there's a steam engine called the Santa Fe, and it's actually this color of orange. So these colors have a way of being a bit cyclical, right? They're making their way back around, but at the same time, it's completely modern in its context, because we embrace the look of industrial at this time. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm talking myself into liking this orange. I do like it, but I do question my sanity sometimes. And so I'm just talking myself into liking the orange. But what I totally love so far is how this is breaking this up and yet pulling it together at the same time in a big enough context that works for me. So now, even though those little polka dots are still there, and yet they're still too small, they are completely overridden now by this panel of orange that right now it's too translucent. You probably can't see that being that far away. Maybe you can, but it's too translucent. So I could do 4 or 5 coats and get it to be completely opaque, but to save myself time and to teach you guys something about when your paint is not opaque enough, and oranges are very, very, very translucent generally. If I add white, I'm just going to end up with an ice cream shade instead of this rich orange. So what I would do is, I'm painting in the orange now, realize it's too thin. I could stop, but instead I'm just going to, for effect, finish it up. And then what I would do is I'll come back in with a white or an ice cream shade of this orange as a second layer, which will act like a primer and it'll block that out. That's fun. I love that couch idea. Anyway, so what I'll do is I'll block it out using a primer. But the primer will just probably be this orange mixed with some white, which is not going to be the right shade. And then the final shade that I mix will then sit on top and be a lot less translucent. So, but this is completely doing it for me as a big gesture. I don't have to go in now and keep working on small gestures until I get the big stuff like really feeling good. So yesterday I was happy with the progress I had made, but something just wasn't quite right. And normally when I'm not live painting, what I do in that case is when something's not feeling quite right, I generally put it aside and start something new. But because I'm trying to paint so that you guys can follow along and tackle your own paintings, it's a learning curve for me too to have to paint during a certain time, because like I said, what I would normally do in that situation is I would remove myself from the painting, stare at it for a long time, and then go, now I know what it's missing, or now I know what I like, or now I know what it needs, or whatever the case may be. And in this case, the painting to me was fine. It was just missing something. And I knew it wasn't small. So a lot of times, I hear you guys in classes and stuff like that, or even in comments and chats, and you're always talking about small changes, like, you know, what do I need? It's missing something. Or I hear that one a lot. It's missing something. Or what is, you know, like there's something that's making you not feel great about that painting. And pay attention to that, because that thing that is nagging you might not be as finite as making one little addition or one little adjustment. Maybe for you to feel good about it, you just need to look at it through a different lens. And so until you get the experience of being able to really look at that and think of your composition and that sort of thing, I encourage you to just look through tons of art. And the internet is wonderful because you can just look and look and look and look. And I have files saved in my Pinterest, and I have them like inspiration, paintings I like. And then I actually, when I'm looking at them and I'm flipping, I'm looking at them and I don't always like them. Like I'll pin something, and then the next time I look at it, I'm like, why would I pin that thing? And it's just because that day, either the composition spoke to me, or the color tone, or something spoke to me. And it's in those observations that I am learning how to be a better painter for me. I'm learning the things that I like to see in art. So when I look at the art that's in my house, there's a common thread to everything, and it's stuff that I end up loving. It's stuff that I end up calling, you know, whether it's my art or somebody else's, it's the things that really speaks to me in art. So why wouldn't I strive to do more of what makes me happy within my own paintings, right? So now, can we still see there? Okay, so I'm going to do another coat on that one, but it's feeling so much better. I can't even begin to tell you how happy I am with this painting right now. I do feel that my white's a bit wimpy though, so I am going to beef up some of the white areas. And that's only because I'm getting really low on art supplies, and so I've thinned out my white, and now it's kind of wimpy. At some point, I'm going to have to order paint just like the rest of you. I thought I had enough supplies to last me forever. I had so many art supplies. But I'm just, by painting every day, which is what Open Studio was there for, right? Was to save me from my own self during this period of isolation. And I hope it's doing the same for you guys. I hope you're turning to art. I hope you're turning to your creative tools and supplies to not only make the time pass, but to really learn something about yourself and your creativity. Because that's where all this stemmed from for me, right? It was the fact that I knew I wasn't alone. I knew I wasn't the only person who would benefit from going inward with my creativity and with my art during this unprecedented time, right? We don't know how to deal with this kind of stuff. This is just so bizarre, so strange. But how you deal with it, how you cope, is really going to I think it's really going to affect your peace of mind at the and during everything. So myself, I'm getting into such a peaceful place by hanging out with you guys every day that it doesn't even seem like I have a choice, right? At first, remember, I don't know, for any of you who weren't here in the beginning, I had said that I was going to do Open Studio during this isolation, and at the time, I think we were all kind of led to believe that it was going to be approximately 2 weeks. And now I realize that that was not, I think that was just kind of a little bit of reported just to maybe reduce any need for panic. But we could be in this for a while, right? And myself, I've really grown to appreciate and love what this group is becoming and what it's doing. So I don't know that I can ever really stop doing this now, even though initially I had thought I was going to do this for 2 weeks alongside you guys. But then I thought it started to get real as soon as I went, oh, we're creating a group. This is really nice. And then our group very quickly started to grow, and it's awesome. Thank you, Linda. So there we go. See, the white is just now, it's not as dirty as it was. This is like got a nicer relationship than the white that I had going on before, which was pretty wishy-washy. And now this white is really a bit brighter. So, and the brightness of this white, because that's the one thing that I always evaluate in a painting, especially when I'm calling it quits, I'm deeming it almost done, I really look at the contrast and the value. So your eye always starts, you guys are going to get sick of me saying this, your eye always starts at the area, the greatest area of high and low contrast. So clearly up here we have the greatest area of high and low contrast, right? We've got the grays, and we've got the white, and we've got the white and the gray. And so up here is where your eye really just wants to start. But now there's enough going on in smaller scale, in the same tones, if not deeper tones, that are pulling you down naturally through this painting. And I would have to say that now I am getting much closer to done and much closer to happy with this painting. So I guess now would be a good time to talk a little bit more about the concept for the classes. So a lot of you have been buying the class on Friday, and like I said before, I totally appreciate that. Like I said, things are starting to get a little real here when Hydro and Bell and Landlord and everybody, everybody's got their hand out. I'm like, oh, I thought we just pressed pause on the world, but apparently we didn't, and people still want their money. So I truly thank you for paying a little bit for the classes on Friday. What I'm going to give you more of on Friday is I did order a tripod and things, so we'll have better interaction. But instead of me just demonstrating, we're actually going to slow it down. So plan to be with us for at least 2 hours, and you can do the project alongside. So what we're going to do is I am going to, thanks Lisa, I'm going to write down all the questions so that I make sure I get back to everything. But I'm going to demo, and then you guys are going to work and you're going to ask me questions and things like that. And then we can even use Messenger or something, so you can send me pictures and I can help evaluate your paintings. So it's going to be much more interactive and hands-on. Now, rest assured, for anybody who is supporting the Open Studio by buying it, and if you can't follow along that day, you don't have 2 hours to spend with us. Don't worry about it, because what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use Zoom, but just one moment, I'll talk about that in a second. So the platform, I'll get back to that, but you're going to be able to interact and do it, but then later on there will be a link available, and every question, because you can't always read the comments later on, what I want to do, or you won't be able to read the comments later on, what I'll do is I'll ask every question out loud as we're doing it, and then answer it out loud, so that if you are just following along later, I bet you anything that if there are 20 of you watching this video, your question's going to get covered even if you're watching it later. So no, so a couple of reasons I'm not using Zoom. One, I'm trying to keep this really affordable for you guys, because my studio rent and bills and all that associated with the studio are yeah, they're adding up, let's face it. And I'm not teaching right now. So I understand Zoom is full interactive, I get that, but I have to pay for it, and I'm trying to keep the cost low to keep you guys in. In fact, I've even put in there that if you can't afford it right now, I still want to keep offering these classes. So what you can do is you can just message me and I'll get you the link if you can't afford to participate. This is not about me getting rich on $11 classes. This is about me trying to offer this to you guys at the best and easiest way possible. So the other thing that Zoom doesn't do is you can't do it on your phone. It's not mobile. So I know I'm having this discussion with Sophie, but it's not mobile. I have to use my laptop, and my laptop, I can't turn it so that you guys can see the art. I really do need it to be flexible on a tripod, so I need to link my camera or my phone to it. So that's why I need a webinar mobile device friendly platform. Done all the research, and this is going to be the cheapest and easiest way for you guys to get what you need out of the video, and it's going to get me helping you to go deeper within your art. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to do two little adjustments really. So one is going to be each week we're going to do a different module. So this week is masks and stencils. So this is considering masking and stenciling. So we'll talk about that. And we're going to do a little project. In fact, I brought the project, so let me go grab it. Sorry, I only thought I brought the project. Anyway, if you want to follow exactly along with the project, which I will post the picture, I will or I have put the PDF within the link. I'll show you all that later. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to, you can follow along exactly. So I've given you the PDF, we'll mix the colors, so you can do exactly what I'm doing, and then you take that and you translate it into whatever it is you're doing in your art. So not everything that I do is going to be so all-encompassing. So we're just going to focus on one task every week in mixed media, which we can have classes for now until I retire, in little components that stand alone will make little projects, but putting them all together, you'll be able to have this whole new skill set of ways that you can incorporate that within your own art, regardless of which medium you work in. Okay, so that's my intention with these workshops. So thank you for supporting the workshops, and if you all the links are there. I'll try to tweak it a little bit, but what I'm doing is I'm going to send you an invitation once you pay and register. I'm going to send you a link to join a private group, and that private group will be for that Friday's module. Okay, so you'll be live and posting within that module on that very day. If not, you will get a private link to it later in YouTube. Okay, and I promise you it'll be worthwhile. Like, don't even worry about it. So if you can't afford it, like I said, just message me. This is not about me getting rich off your $11. This is me just trying to keep bringing you the best I can bring you, but also I'm trying to respond to the vibe I'm getting from you guys when I read your emails and your questions. And it just seems to me that the live demo on project day is too fast and there's no interaction. So I thought, okay, well, how do I bring it to you so that we've got interaction and questions and all that? And it just seemed to me, we just need to make it longer. So we need to make that longer. And the reason I'm making it private also is because we can't have people popping in and out and asking questions that have already been asked and things like that. So, I mean, if it happens that you're late and you ask a question that's already been said, don't worry, we'll address it again. But it's just, that's why we're going to do a private link. Okay, so where are we at? I can't believe the time. It's 1:45, and now I'm looking at this, and I have a bit more tweaking to do. This white that I have made is like unbelievably thin and ridiculous. But I'm just going to clean up some of the mess. I know myself and I know my art, and when I start to fine-tune a little bit and start to look at things from a bigger perspective and then zero in on little changes, I know that I'm getting to that point where I'm almost done. But more private, no need to prep ourselves. No, well, so here's the thing. So once there's no need to prep, but what I'm doing now, that's a great question. It's similar to now, but much more slowed down, much more interactive, much more specific as to one thing we're going to do at a time. But once you register for the course, I'm going to send you a group link, or an invitation to join the group. You join the group, and then within that group, I've been posting only information relative to that Friday's class. So, and I'll take down everything else, so that it's not confusing or whatever. Maybe we'll just leave it. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see what happens. But we'll take that information in there. So you've got your PDF in there. You've got your supply list in there. Everything is within that group. So that's everything. It's pictures of the project. It's everything. So if you want to follow along exactly, you would print the PDF. If you want to just go rogue, you could prepare by getting your own pictures. That way, I mean, if you don't have time to prepare, because it's going to be slowed down, you'd be able to find things around your studio, I'm sure, in moments. But you can prepare within that group. So great question. And trust me, my web developer and I have spent hours and hours and hours researching the best way to bring this to everybody right now. Eventually, answer Sophie's question about Zoom. I have looked at so many different platforms, Vimeo and everything, and eventually I think I will invest in better equipment. I'll invest in probably having an assistant, so I have somebody filming. And but because of isolation right now and social distancing, I don't even have anybody I could get to videotape this and to edit them and all that. But those videos are expensive, right? So all that sort of clean is expensive, and that's why you pay a lot for workshops, online workshops, is because there's a lot of work to be done. And so I was looking at the best possible solution for all of us at this time. So yeah, and again, like I said, I've sent out all the orders from people who have been ordering things. I truly appreciate your business, because yeah, it is how I'm still working. So full disclosure, I'm very sad this week because my Ireland trip, I was supposed to be teaching in Ireland this week, and it got postponed to next year. So, and I keep looking at all the postings from Laura Murphy, the woman who's hosting it, and the place looks so beautiful and so incredible, and I was really looking forward to it, but that's okay. So I am teaching actually in Collingwood. If you guys are familiar with or not familiar with the Blue Mountains studio run by Heather Laidlaw, you should totally check it out. I will actually post it on my website, so if you don't remember this right now, but it's Big Dramatic Questions is the name of the website. Heather Laidlaw, she's in our group, so you can find her there and ask questions. But I am supposed to be teaching there in July, but we'll see what happens with all this stuff. But anyway, Heather also offers studio rentals, so if you just want to grab a friend or two and go and use an incredible space for a few days, you can stay on site if you want to. Her studio is pretty impressive. All right. Yeah, I'm starting to fuss with this, and now I have to do that orange. I'm actually thinking that I am pretty close to done. Other than, like I said, deepening that orange. There's a little weird band here when I straightened it out. That I think I'm just going to see how that feels. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to make that one a little darker, I think, on that side. So I have a line of pencil that I'm just trying to soften a little bit, just because I don't think I need it as harsh as it was. That's good. Oh my God, guys, I can't even tell you how much better this feels to me. Like, it feels so much more me. All right, yeah, a bit of tweaking, and I would say I'm gonna call this thing. So tomorrow, what I'll do is I'll probably have my wax ready, and we'll dive into an encaustic. So I really feel that, well, some of you have been asking about the encaustic, and I didn't want to be doing too much encaustic just because a lot of people don't have access to encaustic right now. So what I'm going to do is, so Friday is still, just so you guys also know this, instead of doing 12 o'clock, I'm still doing my live broadcast at 12. On Fridays, I'll just do the class at the workshop, the project, however, from 1 until 3:30, 3:40, whatever we're doing, okay? So, so broadcasting tomorrow, finishing up this one, starting encaustic an encaustic piece, reviving us an encaustic piece, but I really want to see you guys posting that ugly painting that you promised you were going to make a change to. Okay, so that's what we need to see. We need to see your bravery come out here and take your piece, take your ugly piece. If you haven't posted it already, I'm going to call it your ugly piece because I don't know what else to call it right now. Take that piece that you had hoped no one would ever see, that was, you know, buried at the back of your studio closet or whatever. I have a million of them. Let me turn this camera around, give you guys a little tour. I can show you how many ugly paintings I can pull from. You would not believe it. All right, so whoops. I'm tripping all over my microphone. There we go. So you see all these up here? Yep, those are all piles and piles and piles of paintings that, and there's more, but wait, there's more. Piles of paintings that have been, oh, and then in this thing, which just collapsed on me the other day, is more piles of paintings. And then the studio, on the floor, there are more piles of paintings. I have, oh, don't forget the top shelf. Right, so the top shelf is loaded with paintings that have yet to be finished. So I can't even begin to, like, I am definitely saying that I feel you guys. And there we go. Oh, you already did yours, Sophie? Anyway, blessed are you if you only have one bad painting in your entire studio. So I have hundreds to pull on here, and I wish that we weren't in the situation we're in, because it would be really kind of fun right now to, you know, just randomly send one of these to each of you and say, you fix it. Because I have a lot, and it's daunting. It really is, when you see all your work that you've abandoned or you've started. You were all excited about it one day and then you're not. So please post your painting, your ugly painting, whatever. Keep that going in the comments. But then today is the day. If you have 2 minutes, make one change and then comment on how that one change made you feel within that painting. Okay, so we all have them. Hi Ash, I see Ash is here too, and I know Ash doesn't paint all that often, but she probably has a pile of paintings that she's either abandoned or neglected or yet to finish. Post one of those and then make one change to it and just see how much better that feels. Yeah, just see, I just had an idea and I was like, well, maybe I should do that. But no, the answer is no, don't do any more. So I'm actually feeling pretty good about this. I'm going to brighten up or make that orange part a bit more opaque. And I am going to add a few more little details to it. I haven't decided what yet, but pretty much for tomorrow, this one will be ready for finishing because it's feeling really good to me now. Thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. And yeah, so we'll finish this one up tomorrow and then start tackling the refinishing of an encaustic painting. Okay? Bye everybody. Thanks for watching.